and they've hidden it right over on the side. Okay.
Okay.
Right.
All right,
So
thank
we got
you.
it. We got it. We got it. Okay. So now, let me get back to sharing my screen. There we go. Okay. Everybody see that again?
Yes, you're good,
Okay.
Jeff.
And do you see the button that it's recording?
Yes, I see it at the
Okay.
top now.
Good.
Thank
I'll go back and look at it. I know when I set up this meeting, I put in automatically record. And obviously that's not working for some reason. Anyway, people, let's get back to this. Sorry for the delay. Okay, so essentially we've got a few controls on the device, and I spoke about them last time, the very few controls. The only one I really want to talk about is the big button at the bottom. On most of your devices, you've got one single big button at the bottom, and that button is called the home key. So whenever you press that button, it takes you home. It means that whatever your initial screen is, that's where you go to. So if I turn on, I'm somewhere doing an app right now. All I do is press the home button, and it takes me back to the home screen. That's the first screen. So it's kind of, I use the example, it's kind of like Dorothy in the Wizard of Oz. You remember the ruby slippers? She clicked the ruby slippers and it took her home to Kansas. Well, that would be a very nice thing to have in our own lives. Most of us don't. We've got to make sure we get to the right place at the right time, and we can get lost. You can never get lost on your phone. You can never get lost. If ever you find that you're in a situation that I don't know what the heck I'm doing anymore, just press the home button, bing, and the magic slippers take you home to Kansas, to your home screen. Okay, so we said there's really two important things about this. There's the home button, and then there's the screen itself. So the important thing is that this screen is what's called a touch screen. So it's a beautiful glass screen with beautiful colors on and so on. But what's clever about it is it can sense the position of my finger. It knows when my finger comes real close. It doesn't know where my finger is right now, but as soon as my finger comes within, say, 1/4 of an inch of it, it can sense where the finger is. And so therefore it knows if my finger's up in the top left-hand corner like that, or it's in the bottom right-hand corner, or somewhere in the middle. And the brilliant idea, which originally was Apple's idea, but Android does exactly the same. The brilliant idea was to assign parts of the screen, little specific places, to do specific functions. So in the good old days, when I started in the business, getting a computer to do stuff for you was a hard business. It spoke a foreign language. It was like having a worker who didn't speak English, right? He only spoke Russian. Well, you know, basically, if you only got a worker who only speaks Russian, it's kind of be hard to get that person to get the job done. You could do very basic things by sign language, but be hard to do things like, say, go and develop a spreadsheet, right? They're very hard to do. And that's kind of what it was in the early days. Very difficult to do. The programs were big and complicated, and they did many things. The brilliant thing that we now have on the phone is that each of these little pictures, which we now call icons or apps. So that's technically an icon, but mostly people call it an app, which, as we see on this screen, is short for application program. Each one of them does one thing and one thing only. So instead of having a huge program that can do 1,000 things, imagine that you had, instead of having 5 people in your company, each who have lots of knowledge about marketing and sales and computers and so on, you had a lot of very, very simple people, and they all could do only one thing. Well, it would be a little chaotic in a company. You'd have 100 such people, but yeah, it's very easy, because now when I press the button that says calendar, right? So on my screen here, down in the middle of the very bottom row, you see the date, the blue date that says 14, which is today. That's my calendar. If I gently touch that, the calendar app will come up. Only the calendar app. So I can't use that to take photographs. I can't use that to send emails, right? All I can do is see my calendar. If I want to send an email, there's a different app for that. If I want to make a phone call, there's a different little picture for that. So again, on my phone, you see the bottom left-hand corner where my finger is, the green, everybody knows the green button. That's the phone, right? It looks like a phone. Looks like. Now it's interesting that always these pictures look like the old-fashioned way of doing it. Can you see the old phone? Who remembers the the black phone, the old phone with a dial or buttons on. It looked like that. So that's the icon that we use for phone. And for things like email, we use a picture of a letter. Well, you know, hardly any of us ever sends a letter anymore, but the letter icon is the icon for email. Okay, the camera, which is down here in the bottom where my finger is, the camera looks like an old camera, you know, with a lens, which, you know, other than professionals today, nobody had. But that's by the by. The fact is now, you don't have to learn any complicated languages at all. You just got to make sure you got all the necessary applications, all the apps. And we'll talk about that in a second. So again, getting back to the screen, an app is short for application program. It's a piece of software that does one or more, usually one specific function, but it may do multiple things on your device. So Android comes standard. When you get the phone from AT&T or Verizon or whoever, you got several standard apps. They're there automatically. The clock, which tells you the time, the calendar, which tells you the date, name and address list, emails, calendar, camera, and so forth. They're all there. That was the original idea when Android first came out. But Google and Apple did a very clever thing. They opened their devices to everybody else. They opened it so that anybody could write software for an Android or for an Apple, and many companies write software for both, and they allowed them then to create their own apps. So the place that we with Android will find them is in the Google Play Store, right? And if you look down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, you'll see the little triangle with the 4 colors on. So all of Google's own apps have 4 colors, but they have different shapes. There's a square, there's a circle, and the triangle with the 4 colors on, green, blue, red, and yellow, that is the Google Play Store, right? So make sure you've got that little button somewhere. And if you press it, it will take you to the Play Store. Now the Play Store, although it's called a store, isn't really a store. It's not a storefront at Perimeter Mall or something like that. It's just a place on the internet, and they call it the Play Store. But it's called that because it has lots and lots and lots of games. Originally, it started out with games, hence the name Play Store. And then it became much bigger than that. And it now has tens of thousands of apps, perhaps millions of apps, right? They got games, they got email systems. You can buy stuff like Amazon or Walmart. You can read books with Kindle and other kinds of apps. You can do your banking. You can get GPS directions if you want to, you know, if and when we're able to drive again. Car rides, we can call Uber and Lyft again, if and when we use that. Travel, you know, we can get Delta or you know, Southwest Airlines. They've got their own apps if and when that happens again. And all of this stuff was great until a few months ago. Now we don't have so much use for it, except for, of course, our friends at Amazon. So here are some of the apps that are out there. There's Amazon, of course. The next one is Kindle, which is a fabulous app for reading books online. The app itself, which runs on your phone or your iPad, excuse me, your Google tablet, and it runs on iPad as well, incidentally, or on your computer, called Kindle, and it allows you to read electronic books. So you can buy electronic books from Amazon. They all cost, usually almost all of them cost $9.99 or less, no more than $10. You can, you know, get as many as you like. Most of the public libraries, and they're all open now again, you can, once you're a member of the public library in Fulton County in the state of Georgia, you can borrow books online and get them on your Kindle and read them on your Kindle. This one over here, the third one with the sort of red arrow, obviously most people recognize that. It's all on the tails of Delta planes. So that's the Delta app. If you press that button, you can book a ticket. You can check the arrival time of an incoming flight. You can see that a flight has been delayed. You can even today, you know, see where your baggage is when you get on the plane. It tells you your bag's been loaded, which is a good thing. It hasn't gone on to some, you know, somewhere else or been left behind. And when you get to the other side, the app tells you your bag's been unloaded from the plane. This one here, most people have probably seen it, driving down Roswell Road. That's Bank of America. And pressing on that button You can do all kinds of banking stuff. You can check your balances, you can transfer money, you can pay your bills. And amazingly enough, in your PJs at night, you can even deposit checks. If you don't bank with Bank of America, don't worry, all the other banks have got something similar. If you don't, historically, if you didn't fly with Delta, you prefer to fly with Southwest or American, they got all the apps as well. This famous one with a little F, that's Facebook. I won't even spend much time on it because in my security class, I tell everybody essentially get off Facebook. It's become a dangerous cesspool, especially for seniors. Lyft here, same as Uber. So you click on this button, you type in an address of where you want to go, Atlanta Airport or Perimeter Mall, and 5 to 7 minutes later, somebody arrives in a nice new car and takes you there. And even they are, practicing, pretty good restrictions for the virus. So there, are thousands and thousands of these apps. The question I would ask you, if to think to yourself, is why do we need this Amazon app, for example? I can get to Amazon on my browser. All I do, go to the browser, whatever my browser is, and I type in www.amazon.com and it takes me to Amazon, right? The reason that they give us the app, which then goes on our phone, so you have a one-step process instead of a two-step process, is obviously if you click on the Amazon app, you aren't going to buy from Walmart. So what they're trying to do, all of them, Amazon, Walmart, everybody, by giving you free app, they're kind of trying to lock you into buying from them rather than go to the other guy. So if I'm using my browser, I can just as easily type in www.walmart.com as amazon.com. Amazon doesn't want that, and Walmart doesn't want the other way around. So they both provide their own apps, and you pays your money and you takes your choice, as they say in England. You choose whichever apps you want. You don't need any of those. Delta is the same thing. You can go to delta.com or southwest.com and do pretty much exactly the same thing. But when you use their app, they often give you, freebies. Delta with its app will give you freebies like automatic updates of, if a plane's going to be late or there's security delays or anything like that. Or as I said, when your bag is loaded or unloaded, they'll give you those kind of freebies. Obviously, the banking one, you need just the one for your bank. So, all the big banks and many of the small banks have got their own apps. So, everything is pretty much the same. The interesting thing too is if you like games, you go to the Play Store. There are literally thousands of games out there. You can play chess, you can play Scrabble, you can play shooting games, you can play Candy Crush, which everybody likes to play, and there's just millions of them out there. So if there are a million games there, how do we find them? Very simple, at the Play Store. Like most sites on the internet, there's a blank bar at the top, usually with a little magnifying glass icon next to it. And the magnifying glass means this is where you can search. So if I wanted the Amazon app, I would type into that little search bar simply the word Amazon, and out of the million apps that are out there, it would instantly find the Amazon app or the Kindle app or the Bank of America app or whatever. Bring it up, you press one button to install it, you stand back and drink your coffee, and in a minute or two, the app is on your phone and ready to go. One last thing I mentioned last time. Okay, I'll show you on the phone now. There's not a lot of real estate on there. There's this place for maybe 20 apps, which for most people is enough. But if you need more, the good news is it's like a newspaper. There are more pages. So if I just put my finger on the screen and swipe to the left, you'll see that there's a magic page sitting over here, and it will change and that page will come in, and I've got another 20 apps. And in fact, there's a third one, right? So you can really have as many as about 60 apps, which is more than anybody ever needs, because otherwise you forget what the heck they do. And so I put all the apps that I need on the front screen, and the ones that I use less often are on the secondary screens. And I'm going to show you how we can move them around as well, so that you can arrange the screen exactly as you want. So here are the built-in apps. I've spoken about them already. The clock, you see it looks like the old clock with hands. You press it, you see all kinds of time-related functions. So not only does it just tell you the time, like my watch does, but of course, because you have a computer, it does a lot more. For example, it allows you to set an alarm or many alarms. You can set daily alarms. If you remember your old bedside clock, you could set one alarm. And so if you set the alarm at 6 p.m. in the evening for 7 a.m. tomorrow, it's actually going to go off at 7 p.m. because it only has kind of no intelligence and one number in it. So 7 p.m. would come before 7 a.m. tomorrow. The alarm in your computer is much cleverer. You can state the date, the time. You can set an alarm for every day of the week. So when I have classes at Benson, I have it automatically set up, and an hour before the class or whatever, the alarm goes off and says, you know, hey dummy, get out of bed. It's time to get to class. There's a world clock, shows you the time in other cities. If you've got friends, family overseas, there's a stopwatch. You can time yourself and so on and so forth. The camera, the camera app is, as I discussed when we were talking about the hardware last week. So on the back of the screen, you can see the big lens. That's the camera. So when I press the camera button, I simply hold it up and I can now take a picture. But another innovation that came from Apple, and it's on this phone as well, is not only does it have one camera, but it has two. And so if you look on the front, now most of you will be slightly different, but you can see it's got a very small hole right there, right? That little tiny hole right there is another camera facing towards me. And of course, that was the creation of the new word called selfie, right? So this is the first time that with a camera, you can actually take a picture of yourself. I just think the old camera was almost impossible. You know, you couldn't turn it around and sort of try and press the button like this. So they had this hokey idea that you could set a little 10-second timer, put the camera down somewhere, and then run and get into the picture. Now you can take a picture of yourself. You can take a picture of yourself with your friends. You can take a picture of yourself standing in front of the White House or whatever, or you can turn the camera around and simply take a regular picture. And you'll also find out that the camera is much better than the old camera. The old camera, I think everybody will remember, about, you know, some percentage of certainly of my photos were useless. You had them developed, cost you 10 cents, and you threw them away because it was blurred, or you cut off somebody's head, or somebody was only half in the picture, or whatever. But mostly it was blurred. This camera here, because it's got a computer in, continuously corrects the image. So if your hand trembles just a little bit, it won't have any effect at all. Obviously, if you move the camera like this, it won't take a good picture, but it can do all kinds of clever tricks, as we'll see when we get to the camera. Chrome, so this, again, remember I said everything from Google is 4 colors. So Chrome is the circle. See the 4 colors, red, yellow, green, and blue, but they got them in a circle. Chrome is Google's free web browser, right? And a web browser just simply allows you to go out onto the internet. So the web browser is the place where you type in an address like Amazon.com or WhiteHouse.gov or CNN.com or FoxNews.com or whatever place you want to go to, read the news or shop or just get information. All of that you can do through Chrome, and in Chrome you can also ask a question. So the browsers become very, very clever now. And into the address bar, we'll look at that in due course. You can type an address like Amazon.com and it'll take you to Amazon. Or you can type in a question like, where can I buy something or other? And Google will look across the entire internet for you and in an instant come back and tell you all the places where maybe you can buy an iPhone or an Android phone or women's shoes or whatever it is that you might be looking to buy. Or simply just ask a question like, you know, who won the World Series in 1986? You type that in and Chrome will go look on the internet and come back and tell you who won the World Series in 1986. Mail, so the big M is Google Mail, Gmail, right? Become one of the most popular free emails out there. Allows you to send and receive emails, but you don't need to use Gmail. You can use AOL Mail, you can use Yahoo.com. There are dozens of them out there. They all do exactly the same thing. So the good news is, it's like with the US Postal Service. It doesn't matter where I'm sending the letter, it will get there, right? The internet will ensure that if I have Gmail and you have Yahoo Mail, I can send you an email, you can reply to me, and neither of us will know the difference. Talking about the calendar, not only does it show me the dates, it shows me my own personal calendar, all my appointments, all my meetings, and you can set up recurring meetings and put notes against meetings and so forth. Spoke about the Google Play Store. This one, interesting one, it looks like a somebody speaking. You remember the old balloons that we used to have in the comic books, and that was the first time that this new idea. Again, Apple came up with it, and then Android has improved on it. A new idea called texting, so that we could send messages directly from one phone to another in real time. So it's kind of like a very fast email. Instead of sending an email, in the old days we had to write a letter, and you'd have to put it in the envelope, put a stamp on it, put it in your mailbox, or take it to the post office. The letter would take 1 or 2 or 3 days to get there. Person would reply, take 1 or 2, 3 days to get back. Then we got email, where you can write the same thing, press a button, and they have it, within a minute, usually 30 seconds or something. Texting is even more. It's directly to that person's phone in real time. So you can have a conversation with a person who's either in Atlanta, in Alabama, California, or in Singapore. It doesn't matter. You can have instant phone communication. It was really designed to work with the phone, and now with the tablets, with the Google tablets, the Android tablet, they were not really designed to be phones. So technically you couldn't do texting. But of course, the software guys turned out to be a lot smarter than that. And they figured a way around that, so that you can, in fact, still text now. You can do exactly the same. And so we have things like Facebook Messenger and Google Hangouts and a whole lot of others that allow us to text from a device that wasn't originally intended to be a phone. This is a very important icon. This one over here looks like a dice with 9 dots on it. You can see it on my screen up in the top left-hand corner. And that one is apps, all of your apps. So if you can't find an app, if your app has disappeared off your screen, and it sometimes happens for some reason, we accidentally delete it or something happens to it, by pressing that all apps, you'll see all of your apps in alphabetic order. So I'm going to do that now. Press that button, and it shows me alphabetically all of my apps, right? There they are. I've got a lot of them, and I can find the one that I want, right? It has A, B, C, D down the right-hand side, so I can go directly to the W's or the L's, and the apps are there. And all I have to do now is, as I'm going to show you in due course, I can move that app back to the main screen or back to the secondary screen anytime I lose an app. The only tricky one is don't lose this app, the one with the 9 dots on, because then you get into a circular situation, and I would have to help you out. Okay, so lots of Google apps, Gmail, Maps allows you to find out where you are and get directions. Drive allows you to store information in the cloud. Play music, play movies, obvious. Hangouts is another app for texting and having conversations and making phone calls. The interesting thing is you can now use your phone or your tablet to make calls without using your phone, your minutes, your AT&T or Verizon minutes at all, entirely on the internet, right, for free. And that would be done through Hangouts. And then Photos allows you to see all of your photographs, arrange them, categorize them, and delete the ones you don't want, and so forth. Okay, moving apps around. So that's what everybody asks me how to do that. Okay, I don't like the way the apps are set, and I'd like to move them around. I'd like to change the way the screen is. So the good news is that everything on on that screen, oops, it keeps coming up with an app. I'm pressing a button. Everything on the screen is flexible. You can move it around, right? So you can set the screen up to be exactly the way you want. So I'm first going to tell you just one extra thing. You'll see that there are 2 interesting things on the screen. One is that there's a separate set of icons at the bottom, right? And those icons always stay. So even if watch the bottom line of icons, I'm going to scroll over to the next page, but watch the bottom icon. They don't move. Do you notice that? They stay exactly as they were. And those are my most important, my most common icons. So it would typically be your phone, your calendar, your address list, maybe the camera, and my last one over here, the one on the right, that is voicemail messages. So I can press that button and see all my voicemail messages and then listen to the voicemail messages if somebody left me a voicemail. Okay. There's also this white bar. There's a white bar there. And the interesting thing about that is you can type, it says search on it. You can probably see it says search. You can actually type whatever you would type into the browser, you can type directly into there without even going to the browser. So you can actually type into there if you wish. Put your finger on there, the little keyboard opens up and you can type in who won the World Series in 1986, right? Or, you know, what's the budget of the United States? Or how many people live in the state of Georgia? You can ask it any question you like. It's as if you have access to every library in the world. Okay, so let's talk about moving icons around. We can move them down to the bottom there, or we can move them back up to the top. And Android, the operating system, will automatically take it. You know, if I move an icon into that top row there, it'll just push everything on. You don't have to, you know, rearrange it yourself. It'll automatically, you know, push something off the end onto the next line and rearrange it. And so you can have the icons precisely where you want them, as I've done over here. So all we do very simply to move an icon is you touch it and hold it down. You don't pick your finger up. So normally to make the icon work, you just tap it. Here you hold it down, right? And after a while, a little menu will pop up. You'll see a little menu pop up. And when that happens, you can now just drag that icon with your finger. You can drag it over the edge to the right onto the next screen, or you can drag it up or drag it down, and it'll automatically reorganize everything for you. If you want it, as I said, on the bottom line, you can take, let's say my bottom is already filled. All I have to do is take one of those, move it back up to the top, and then move whatever one I want down to the bottom, right? And that's it, simple as that, okay? Let's see if I can show you. There we go. So when I click on, I held down that icon, and you see the little menu that popped up next to the icon? There's the icon, the one with the head on, which is my name and address list. And this little icon says, I can uninstall, which means get rid of this app completely. I don't want it anymore. I can press the little X at the bottom, and that says remove, which just takes the icon away, but leaves the app on your computer. So it's still using up space in your phone, in your tablet, but it's not showing up anymore because perhaps you don't need it. If you don't need an app, it's probably best to uninstall it. But when that little menu pops up, now you can just by dragging the icon with your finger, keep your finger on it, drag it to the new position, take your finger off, and bingo, the icon will have moved and it'll be in the place that you want. Very useful. You don't do it very often. There's one more thing you can do with apps as well. If you've got a lot of apps that really, you know, fit together, instead of using up all your space on your screen, toss them into a little folder. You know, it's like having a manila folder marked, you know, taxes, and inside there you've got all your information about your taxes instead of having pieces of paper lying all around, which is kind of like what my desk looks like. Okay, it's much better to put in a folder. Well, the way you do that is very, very simple. If you take, let's say you've got all the Google apps, and you rather would get them all together because they're all Google. All you do is take any one of the apps and move it on top of the other one. Just literally move it on top. Android will automatically open a little folder now, and you can drag as many of them into that folder as you like. So if you look on my phone, you'll see right over here, over there, is a folder. And it says, probably can read it right over there, it says Google. So if I just tap on that, all of the Google apps open up. You see that? So it only use space for one icon, but in fact, I've got a whole lot of in there. I've got, you know, Chrome and Gmail and Maps and the Play Store and so on. So if I want the Play Store, I've got to press, you know, I've got to open the little folder first by tapping on it. There's the Play Store down right over there, okay? But obviously, I wouldn't put apps that I use a lot into there, right? Because it needs two presses to find it. It's apps that you don't use that often, right? So that's how we create a folder. Typing, I think we all know about typing. Basically, your phone or your tablet gives you a variable, gives you a what's called a virtual keyboard. So there it is, okay, with the letters. They tend to be a little frustrating because the keys are quite small, and if you've got big fat fingers like me, often, you know, when we press a letter, we sometimes may move over, you know, lean over to the right, lean over to the left, then you get the wrong one. You know, you get the key next to it. So you've got to be very careful with it. The real solution is one of these. It's just to get yourself a pen. Many of them are given away free. I got this one free from Fulton County. You can buy the pens for, you know, $1 or $2. So it's a regular cheap fountain pen, ballpoint pen, but it has a little tip on the top. It's a little rubber tip, and that's much more accurate. So, you know, if you watch, I'm going to type on it now, and it's much easier to type, right? You never get the wrong letter. So I would recommend everybody get at least one of these. I keep this, you know, this one like this with me all the time. Okay. If you want, you can also get a real keyboard. So the on-screen keyboard is fine for, you know, small tasks like keying a contact or editing an existing contact or typing in a URL, an address, an internet address is called a URL. For bigger jobs, if you really wanted to type a lot, if you were writing a book or writing a very long novel or something like that, you really want a real keyboard. And you can buy these keyboards. Here's some examples of them. There are lots of them at Amazon, at Best Buy, at Walmart, and they cost from $10 to $40 or $50. And you can see here on the right, here's the blue one. There's a phone that sits in a little cradle. There's got a real keyboard, and you can take the phone out, and then the keyboard closes up. You can even leave the phone inside, which kind of protects it. Here's a nice one that looks like a pocketbook, and when you open it up, it looks something like this. And your phone or your tablet would fit in here and connect to the keyboard either through a cable. So there's a little cable that you just plug into your phone, into the standard port at the bottom of your phone. So you've got a standard sort of rectangular hole at the bottom of the phone where your power cable goes in, but you can also plug in the keyboard into there. And many of the newer keyboards talk to the phone without a wire, without a cable. They call it Bluetooth. So it's kind of like a Wi-Fi. So there's short-range Wi-Fi, and so you don't need a cable. So these are very nice things to have. It protects your device. It looks pretty nice, like this one. Looks really professional. Will protect it if you drop it, and as soon as you open it up, you have a real keyboard. Very nice to have. They're not that expensive. So things we can do with our phone. Let's talk about a couple of things we can do with either our phone or our tablet. So this little icon here, which looks like a person's head, that's the contacts icon, and it allows you to keep information about everybody that you know or want to retain information on. So the name, who they work for, what their street address is, what their email address is, more than one phone number. You can have a home number, you can have a work number, you can have a cell phone number. I think you can have, I don't know, 4 or 5 different numbers. If you press the contact list, you press the contact icon, as I'm going to do now. So a list pops up in alphabetic order of everybody that you've got in your list, everybody that you know. I got hundreds and hundreds of them, not because I've put so many in, but just they've accumulated over the years. And it's easier just to leave everybody there than to spend too much time deleting them. You can delete them. Every one of these can be updated or deleted. Most times it's not worth deleting it, even if I'm never going to see that guy again, right? So you can either look for them alphabetically, and you can see they're in alphabetic order. So I can look for, you know, Jeff Kalvarisky under K, but it's clever enough. It'll find me whether you type in the first name or the last name. That's the beauty of it. It doesn't necessarily have to do it, you know, like most computer systems always used to be, is you had to type last name and then first name or something like that. Yeah, if you just type in John Smith, or John, just type in John, or Sharita. If I type Sharita, unusual name, I only got one Sharita. As soon as I get to S-H-E-R, bang, there you are, Sharita. It finds you instantaneously. So it's very easy to use. Oops, sorry. didn't mean to go to the next line. And so you can search, and in fact, the beauty is you can search on anything, not only the name, you could search on the phone number or the email address or the company name, right? I want to talk to somebody. I know he works for, Fox News, or he works for CNN. Type CNN and you'll find everybody that's got the letters CNN anywhere in their name, in the address or in their name. CNN won't be in anybody's name, but if you had CNN, it would almost certainly be that you'd put somebody in the calendar, and for their company, you'd put CNN, right? So you can find by phone number, right? So I can't remember your name, but I know your phone number started with 404-261. Type in 404-261. It'll find everybody in the 404 area code with a 261 of the next 3 digits, and maybe there's only 1 or 2 people like that, or there's just one, and bingo, you're home. So it's very, very powerful. The search facility is very powerful indeed. So here we go. Add a new contact. Add a new contact. So basically, when you look at contacts, you will see that there's a little red button, right? It looks like this, and it's got a plus sign. I just wanted to use this as a good example because almost all of the apps in Android work like this. The plus sign means add a new one, not add as in 1 + 1 = 2, but add a new entry. So when you click on that icon, basically it opens up a blank screen like this, which says name, address, organization, phone number, email address, and so on and so forth, right? So you just type all that information in, and remember to press the save. So if you notice at the top part of the screen here, it says save. You must remember to press save. If you don't press save, you may lose that information, right? So that's all it takes to create a new entry. Once you press save, that entry is in your contact list, and you can find it anytime. And once you've found the person, just by pressing on the phone number, you can call that person. You don't have to type the phone numbers in anymore. So I really call people now by name and not by phone number anymore, right? So if I want Sharita, I want to call Sharita, I just type Sharita in, a record pops up, click on the phone number, it'll either call a home number or work number or cell phone number, whichever one I want, and instantaneously the phone will be called up and the phone will start to ring. Similarly, if I hit the email address, my email app will open up with an email, a new blank email address to that person, and now their name, their email address will automatically be entered. I can type the email, press the send button, and we're done. So it's very powerful. If you want to change it, there is an edit. You'll see a little feature like this. It isn't a button, it's just the word edit, right? And let's say you've called up a contact, right? When you press edit, it now allows you to change anything you like. You can change the phone number, you can delete a phone number, you can add a phone number, you can change, fix typos in the name or in the address and so forth. And then always remember to click the save, and that's it. It's got multiple phone numbers, multiple email addresses, and this works in exactly the same way. There'll be a little green plus sign next to the phone numbers, and if you press the plus sign, it'll add a phone number. Next to the phone numbers, there's also a little minus sign, and it doesn't take much to realize that the minus sign simply allows you to delete it, right? So you can get rid of a phone, you can get rid of an entry. Now, here's a very useful thing that most people don't know about. All contacts in your contact list can be assigned to a group. So you can create any group you like, any number of groups. So it could be a group called family. So all my family are in that one group, or children, or grandchildren, or college, whatever, colleagues, right? So all my colleagues. Chess, I belong to chess club. All the people in the chess club. Tennis club, church, anything you like, right? You can create. Now, anybody can be in 1 or more, 0 or more groups. You don't have to put them in any group, or you can put them in one group, and you can put people in 2 groups. So maybe members of my family might also be in the family group as well as in my church group, right? That would be a common situation, but I can then get to any of those groups just by choosing the group. So in the contact record at the bottom, press groups. There's a little word that says groups, right? And you can now select for that person either an existing group, family. I'm adding one of my children, click on family, and they're added to that group, or plus sign as usual, create a new group. So I've now got a new group, let's say attendees at the Benson Android class. I can call the group that name. And each of you, when you send me an email, I can add you to that group. So in future, I can send out one email to that group and everybody in the group will get it. And there can be any number of people in the group, right? So again, create it, delete it, amend it, and so forth. Very, very, very useful indeed. Now, spoken about typing, and I said, you know, you've got the little keyboard on the screen, or you can get a real keyboard, but the smart computer programmers who work for Google and for Apple said, hey, all that typing is too much trouble, right? We're now going to unleash the power of the human voice. And so anything that you can tell Google to do through the keyboard that I've just told you about, call up, press the email, type out an email to somebody, send the email, all of that kind of stuff, or go online and ask who won the World Series in 1986, or how many seconds there are in 10 years, or anything that you might want to know for your own interest, or for your grandchildren to help them with a school project or whatever, you can now do through your voice. And so here's how it works. At the home screen, you've got to be at the home screen. There I am at the home screen. It doesn't work anywhere else. I don't know why that is, but that's the way it is. It works only on the home screen. You say the magic words, and I'm not going to save them, otherwise my phone's going to start wanting me to talk to it. But here are the magic words, okay? So when you say these two magic words that are here in yellow, right, the Google Assistant pops up, right? Actually, let me do it. We'll see it go. You can try it for yourself. Okay, Google. Did you hear the little bing sound, right? And now Windows opened up, right? And I'm going to.
I found these results.
Okay. Who won the World Series in 1986? Who won the World Series in 1986?
This year, the New York Mets won World Series.
Right, there we go. So, you know, the old days of having arguments about, you know, sports games or what happened in 1997 or 1947 for that matter, depending how old we are, there are no more arguments anymore. We have access to an absolute perfect source of information. But besides asking questions like who won the World Series, and oh, by the way, to get rid of it, to have Google stop listening to you, as you would expect, you press the home key, the home button, and you're back at the home screen. But you can also ask it to do important stuff for you. Set an alarm for 6:30 a.m. on Wednesday. Isn't that interesting? Set an alarm for 6:30 a.m. on Wednesday, next Wednesday. It won't ask you which Wednesday, it'll assume next Wednesday. But you could also say set an alarm for 6:30 a.m. on Wednesday, the 27th of July, right? 2023. You can set an alarm for any time you like. Call Bob Johnson mobile. This is the one I love. When I used to drive cars, I don't drive my car anymore much. But when you're in your car, instead of using your hands, you simply say, "Okay, Google, magic words." You hear the bing? She picked that up. She's very smart when she listens. I say she because always a lady's voice, but you can change it to a different voice. I simply say, "Call Bob Johnson mobile," right? If I said just call Bob Johnson, it would come back and say mobile or home number. But let's say I know that I want him on the mobile because I'm in my car. Call Bob Johnson mobile, and instantly the phone app will open up. You will see it dialing, you know, whatever Bob Johnson's number is, whether he's in New York or Chicago or Los Angeles or on the other side of the planet, and you're connected. Or you can say, send email to Wendy Smith. Then you dictate an email. Dear Wendy, let's have lunch on Friday and discuss the contract. Sincerely, Jeff. And then you say send, and the email will go off. Will go off in your most regularly used email, which in my case would probably be, for most of us on Android, would probably be Gmail, right? So it worked absolutely great, and you got to play with it. You know, sort of general questions. What was the hottest temperature ever recorded in the USA? Let's try that one. I have no idea. Okay, Google. What was the hottest temperature ever recorded in the USA?
134 degrees Fahrenheit. Here's a summary from current results. North America's highest temperature ever recorded is 134 degrees Fahrenheit.
Wow, pretty cool. And then it shows me, it actually shows me there's an entry on the internet. So you see the light, the blue color. When anything is blue like that, it usually means it's what we call a link. So I can touch it, and it will take me to a web page, and it'll show me information all about the hottest places in the United States. And that 134 degrees was in Death Valley. If it's of any interest to anybody. You can say, give me public transport directions to the Georgia Aquarium. That's pretty impressive, right? It will come up with and tell you the MARTA and the buses and so on, how to get to the Georgia Aquarium, or how to get to Benson Center, or how to get to Perimeter Mall or Atlanta Airport or whatever. You don't even have to know the address of Georgia Aquarium. It'll figure it out. Get me a lift to ATL, right? Notice that. It knows that ATL means Atlanta Airport. And get me a lift doesn't say to you, what the heck does that mean? It says, I know who Lyft is, or get me an Uber, right? And the Uber app will pop up, and it will have automatically keyed in that you want to go to ATL, which is Atlanta Airport. Okay? I love this one. Find coffee near me. That doesn't mean, I want to buy some, a pound of coffee. Clearly, find coffee near me tells me where's the nearest Starbucks or place that I can have coffee. Where's a good hair salon? Fantastic, One of these days, we'll probably be able to reuse most of this clever stuff. And I won't go on with any more. Okay, there's plenty of them. You can try them out yourself. So basically, your voice, very powerful, can do almost anything that you want. Say the possibilities are endless, right? Say here, texting. I'm going to be late. Text Debbie, right? If there's more than one Debbie, it'll say, which one do you mean? Or it even gets to know, you can say, text my wife, text my husband. After a while, after you've done it a few times, it knows which entry in your address book is your wife or your husband. Then Google says, okay, what do you want to text? And I said, yeah, I'll be home at 6 p.m. You say send, and that's it, right? You say send, and Google will do the job for you. So very, very useful indeed. Okay, security. So we're getting near the end here. Let's just do this one because it's fairly quick. Okay, there are a few aspects of your device that protect you. One protects you against people seeing your information or being able to use your device, and the other one other aspect protect your privacy. So security, the important thing the one important thing about security is we have what is called the lock screen, and the lock screen means when you haven't used your device for a while, it locks out, and you can set that time to be 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 30 minutes, or never. I would not recommend never, that you don't have a lock screen. I'd always recommend a lock screen because that allows you then to have a password. And the reason for that is fairly obvious. If you leave your phone on or your tablet on the desk and go to the bathroom, and I'm a nosy guy, I can pick up that device and get into your emails and look for your social security number or any important stuff like that, because it would ask me for the password and can't get in. So the password can either be a long password to be typed in, but in most cases a 4 or 6 digit number is fine, right? It allows you to set up a number. So my pass number is 1352 or whatever. I type it in. It only takes a second or so, and I can then get in, but nobody else can get in. So this is done in this icon here called settings. So on my screen, you'll see settings in the top corner over here. It's a little blue icon. It looks like a gear wheel. You can see it there on the screen. And settings is a bad name, actually. Settings don't mean anything. Settings, what setting? Really, what settings means is you are talking to Android. You want to talk directly to the operating system. You don't do this very often. These are things you do sometimes once and never again, or something that you might do occasionally, right? If you think somebody knows your, it was watching over your shoulder and saw your PIN number to unlock your device, you go into the settings and you change it, right? Don't wait, just change it. Get a new PIN, right? Or a new password. So settings, when we tap on settings, it gives us a long laundry list of things. And you can probably see it there, right? Long laundry list that says connections, sounds and vibration, notifications, blah, 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 blah. These are all the aspects of your device. And the beauty about Android is that you can customize your device exactly the way you want. There are a lot of things you can change. You can change the ringtone. They've got 60 different ringtones of tunes, and you can even have your own tune if you want. You can download these from the internet. If you like your phone to ring with Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, or you know, I Want to Hold Your Hand by the Beatles, you can do that too. But the important one I want to tell you about just is the lock screen pattern, right? So the lock screen either allows you to have a PIN number, which is obvious, but you have to remember it, right? So don't forget your PIN, because nobody, not even Android, not even Google, can get your PIN back for you. If you've forgotten your PIN, your phone or your tablet is toast. You can't get into it. But it has some other options as well. One of the options is that I like very much is called a pattern, right? So a pattern, it presents you with 9 dots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and you draw a pattern. So I've just drawn a pattern like this, like the letter C, but you could draw a pattern that's the letter X or the letter L or any kind of pattern you want. And draw a little square. I can draw a triangle like this. I can start here and go, don't have to start on the corners. I can go from here to here, to here, to here, to here. Whatever that pattern is that you have defined, that now is your password. So it's a lot easier, I think, than remembering numbers, because we've all got so many numbers to remember, so many passwords to remember. This is real easy, right? And so you choose a pattern like this, you show it your pattern, and then it goes away. And then next time you have to open the phone, it will come up with, automatically show you these 9 dots, and you draw your little picture, and you can get in. One more thing that Android also allows you to do, and we'll mention that, and then we're pretty much done. Let's go back to that, is you can also use a fingerprint. That's really cool. So instead of, it doesn't need another device. All you need to do is you put your finger on the home screen like that, right? And you hold it there for a few seconds. It will read the little shapes, they call them the walls, the little lines and valleys and mountains on your finger, very tiny. It reads them and it will unlock it for you. And you can record multiple fingers. So obviously you need to do that, because maybe this finger's got a bandage on it because I cut it, so I can't use it anymore. So I'd have that finger too, or this finger, or that finger, or whatever, right? Multiple people too. You can have your husband or your wife or your daughter or your son also register their fingerprint so that they can get access to the phone as well without having to remember any kind of PIN numbers or anything like that. So you pays your money and you takes your choice, as I say. So when you go into settings and you go into security, the lock screen, you can either give it a number, 4-digit number, you can give it a pattern like that, or you can register your finger. So what you do is with your finger, it'll say, put your finger on the home key, leave it there for a few seconds, you rotate it up and down so it can see all of your finger. Then it says, I've registered that finger. Do you want to do another finger? You say, yeah, I want my thumb as well. Do it with your thumb or your pinky or whatever, right? You can just register as many fingers you like. So if your hand is dirty, for example, you've been working in your garden, the fingerprint won't work too well because you've got dirt on your finger, then use another hand. Or you've got lots of options there. You can register all 10 fingers if you wish, or more, because you can have other people as well. But normally 2 or 3 fingerprints registered is more than enough. So there we've got it. So we've now got a very secure device. Nobody can get into your device. Nobody, right? So like I say, if you forget your PIN number, forget your PIN, or you forget the pattern, obviously you'll never forget your fingerprint. But for any reason the fingerprint reader doesn't work, that could be a problem. Well, I've never had that happen to me. If you have forgotten your pattern or your PIN, nobody can help you. Android doesn't have it. It's not stored. It's only stored on the phone. It's not stored outside. But that's a really useful thing. And it does mean that, you know, at any instant in time before, you know, if you decide to go to the bathroom, you can turn off your phone, and therefore anybody else who would like to get into the phone would need to know the password. So something I recommend you do. It's very good from a privacy point of view, and it also means that nobody's going to steal my phone, because if it's got a fingerprint or a pattern or a pin, it's got a security code. That device is essentially useless to anybody else, right? They can maybe break it up and sell the components, but good luck with that. By and large, there's not much point in there stealing your phone or your tablet, because it's protected. Okay, so I'm going to show you one more thing for everybody. Just let's do this. Just want to give you one piece of information. Oh, I don't have it on us. Oh, that's strange. I don't have it here. Okay, I'm going to ask you if you want a copy of the slides, those who don't already have it, I've sent it to some people, send me an email. Simply refer to the Android class and ask me to send you the slides, and I will. So my email address, on most of my screens, I've got it somewhere at the beginning, but this one I don't have it for some reason. Let me see if I got it up here. Yes, there we go. Okay, here's my email address. Can everybody see that at the bottom of the screen? It's Jeff_Kalwarisky@earthlink.net. Unfortunately, that's an underscore, not a dash. I don't know how I landed up with an underscore, but I've had this email address for 25 years, so it's too difficult to change now. Everybody around the world knows it. So Jeff_KALWERISKY@earthlink.net. Not .com, but .net. So if you just will write that down and send me an email today, I will send you the slides, you know, with the same day. You'll get exactly these slides that I'm showing you. You will have a copy for yourself. You'll be able to print it out or view it while I'm talking. You can view it on your phone or on your tablet. Okay, are there any questions that anybody would like to bring up before I end the session? Anybody have a question? Nobody? Well, then I'll take that as an assent. By all means, if you have questions, you think of them afterwards, just email them to me and I'll be happy to answer them as well. But that's the way to contact me, Jeff_Kalwarisky@earthlink.net. You can also actually get to me at jeff.kalwarisky@gmail.com. So I've got an Earthlink address and I've got a Gmail address. So jeff.kalwarisky@gmail.com. If you call me, if you send an email to me at this Earthlink address, you may get some kind of message that I have higher level of security and you have to be approved to send me an email. You know, I'm paranoid, of course, so I've got high level of security. Don't worry about it, because I will still get told that you sent me the email, and I will admit you and allow you to send me emails, and I'll be able to send you back the slides. Everybody have a very nice day, and I thank you for your time, and don't hesitate to contact me.